The beauty of it, the Slot-T, yes, you can make adjustments to that play, or they give you the next hole over. They can't defend everything. And I call it working the problem. That's what I love about Slot-T. He's like, all right, Friday night, guys, we're working the problem. Coach Rib's behind me. Let's work this problem. We got the answers. We just got to go through the problem to work it,
Slot-T, I was like, what the hell is that? And he showed me a couple Liberty Hill clips, and I'm like, holy hell, this is quick hitting. This is awesome. We all made the decision, like, is this going to beat Phoebus? Is this going to get us to an opportunity to play in a state championship in Division 4? And we all said yes and took it from there.
This is Keith Grabowski, founder and CEO of Coaching Coordinator Network. We've kicked off our series, Slot-T Mafia, with Coach Paul Kilby. The series digs into the history, teaching, and evolution of the Slot-T offense through the coaches who built it and continue to carry it forward. If this conversation sparks more interest in the Slot-T and you're serious about building a clear offensive identity and teaching it with confidence, visit Slot-T.com and join the coaches carrying this offense forward.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Okay, welcome to another Slot-T podcast here for Slot-T.com. Today we've got some real special guests. We have Thaddeus Wheeler, Coach Thaddeus Wheeler, the offensive coordinator at Lafayette High School, Williamsburg, Virginia. And we also have the offensive line coach, Nick Kepa from Lafayette High School. The head coach at Lafayette is Andy Lynn. And Nick, I know you sported a brand new haircut for tonight's podcast in our group text yesterday. I went out and got one myself, but you're looking good, brother. I do want just that introductions here. I mentioned Coach Thad, you're the offensive coordinator. Coach Kepa, you do O-line, but you guys do both sides of the ball. Can you explain that just in a quick summary for us?
Yeah, so I guess in Virginia, your staffs aren't as big as you get down south into Texas, Georgia, that area. So we are limited on coaches there. So we're coaching both sides of the ball. Previous 2 years, I was the defense coordinator at Lafayette, transitioned over to the offense coordinator this year, and let Coach Kepa take over the defense coordinator role there. But it's just something you got to do in Virginia. I don't know many staffs that are one-sided, to be honest with you. So it's a very holistic approach when it comes to coaching. And so you got to have a system in place or you're going to be all over the place. And that's one reason we went to Slot-T looking at it there, because we like systems on offense and defense. And let Coach Kep kind of explain a little bit more. But, yeah, we got to have buy-in on both sides of the ball for the coaches to coach. And they got to know both sides.
Yeah, and like Coach Wheeler said, we're unique to where you have to have system in place, offense and defense, because coordinators, there's coordinators, yes, but really everybody's coaching. And you got to coach a position. I could be down on the defensive line, linebackers, or might have to run a DB's drill because this coach can't show up, or Coach Wheeler, vice versa, offensively needs to flip down the offensive line and do something here while I got to go do the backs over there with this during this time, or quarterbacks, receivers need to throw. So there's a vacancy with the backs that a coach needs to step up to take over while maybe another coach takes over this offensive line drill. So it's a unique situation to where everybody has to be on the same page, and you do need an offense and defensive system that you can run to the T that all coaches can master and attack at every position at every level.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, Coach Kilby, you can correct me if I'm wrong. When we were down in Texas, every coach down there we noticed was a teacher or some educator in the building.
100%. You can't be an outside coach coming in Texas.
Yeah, in Virginia, it's kind of gone backwards. You don't find many educators in the building coaching anymore. So it's kind of a tough deal. It's tough to find good assistant coaches with that. And once you find them, usually they're coming from outside the building. So when we find a system that we can rinse and repeat and we can know inside and out, and they can learn it and we can just coach it, that's huge, especially in our situation. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, things are a little different down here for sure. And every state's different. I was texting with a coach from Alabama today. He's fired up, wants to run the Slot-T. He's been contacting me for close to a year, and he's going for a head coaching job and feels real good about it. Real good. He said, man, as soon as I get that job, I'm coming to Texas. I want to come visit. And I said, so you're the athletic director as well, this position. He said, oh no, that's real rare in Alabama. And, it's real rare in Texas where the head football coach is not the athletic director. So anyways, every state's different. And, speaking to the both sides of the ball, it's interesting. This year in Texas, we had a Slot-T team in 2A football make the state championship game. They didn't get her done, but they got there. They upset the number one team in the state, Refiro, the week before. And they made this point. Actually, I watched the semifinal game on NFHS, and then they do, the big production for the state finals down here at Jerry World. And in both games they mentioned, this guy, Coach Jared Jones, he coaches all sides. He calls everything. He calls the offense, the defense, and the kicking game. And he said, if we mess up, we fell on one side of the ball. He goes, it's squarely on me, which is pretty good accountability. That must be something. These are real small schools. They're under, I think, 215 kids total in these schools. So anyways, we'll move on here. I met these two fiery coaches last spring. They came to Liberty Hill for a few days. They watched their off-season workouts in the weight room. We spent a whole lot of time on the whiteboard. And I remember these guys' whole plane trip in was a big cluster, and they didn't have a whole lot of sleep in them the first day. I think I wore them out, but they caught up in the ensuing days, and we got a lot of work done. We watched a lot of cut-ups, walked through blocking assignments, backfield action. These two, from everything I gather, are all in on the Slot-T. They took it back with them. They installed it, and they ran it all the way to a 12-2 semifinal appearance. I watched the game on NFHS. I was on the edge of my couch there in December. I was jumping up and down cheering for them. I know they're still probably a little ticked off. They didn't get it done, but they lost 25-23 to go to the big game. And they did this in a season where they moved up a level from 3A to 4A. So we're real glad to have them on the show here today. I'm sure a lot of folks on the East Coast are familiar with Lafayette High School. But anyways, I was checking y'all out today at Max Preps, and I saw you average 46.2 points a game, which that's pretty darn good output first year running a new system. What were your totals rushing and passing? Just general rounded off totals for the year.
Yeah, so we were about close to 4,000 yards on the year rushing. We had 2 1,000-yard rushers in the regular season. Did it there, and then we passed for 1,500 yards on the year there with that. And I think our one receiver was about 750 total yards on the season there with that. And that includes some games. So we had one game, and I'll just go ahead and say it. We had one game, one team, they didn't come back out after halftime. They threw in the towel, unfortunately, with that. So, and then obviously we had a handful of games where our starters didn't play in the third, fourth quarters with that. There, but yeah, that was about our totals: 4,000 rushing, 1,500 passing there on the year. So
great first season in a new offense. And I know you guys have had success before, and we'll talk about more later. Your transition was from wing T to Slot-T, which obviously there's some real similar concepts, man blocking schemes, misdirection, and but certainly 12-2 and those kind of numbers, man. That's 46 points a game. That's impressive stuff, man. We were at 42 points a game. I like to say it like that until the last game. Our start and finish were not good. We rolled out and lost 20-13 in the first game and really looked like Ned in the third reader, going from the spread to the Slot-T. We were, Now we jumped on the second game, won 63-7, but the last game we're playing at the time, the number one team in the state, and we got held to a field goal, but we averaged 42 points a game, had 5,300 yards rushing, a 1,650-yard rusher, a 1,450-yard rusher, and one kid was just 20 yards shy of 1,000. But we all got us squarely beat. Is we had around 112 yards passing, so you're way out front of us there. But coming from Liberty Hill, 5,300 yards rushing is not a great season. But everything's relative, and being the first year and getting here late, super super pleased with our first year, getting over 5,000 yards rushing, and hopefully we get up to those 6,000, 7,000 yard rushing seasons like we had regularly at Liberty Hill going forward. So going back here to the spring, your visit to Liberty Hill, wide open question here. Just explain your experience, the benefits of coming down. Was it worth the visit?
Oh, 100% was worth the visit. We started this transition I started looking, and I probably watched everything I could on the internet, Liberty Hill wise and Slot-T, and started talking to Coach Kepa. We got into it, and we were emailing people. Started with you. There's nothing on the internet. We were looking for playbooks, information, and we were piecemealing it together. And we were like, we come to the conclusion this is something we needed to do to be successful. We needed to be direct. We loved the tempo. It was something we needed to change with, and we decided if we're going to do this, we need to go directly to the horse's mouth. So going down there was without a doubt the best thing, and probably the best coaching professional development I've done in a long, long time. I think Coach Kepa can agree with that there. The experience just to see it live, to sit there for hours on end, going through it, writing it down, going through the details. You can't find that on any clinic, Zoom clinic, and all that stuff. Like that's true football. Sitting down and meat and potatoes there with the people that do it the best. So was it worth it? 100%. It's worth every dime.
We kind of like those details around Liberty Hill.
Yeah.
Pretty detail oriented. And I'm going to say Liberty Hill, but of course I'm at Blanco now.
Yeah.
Coach Walker and I, and two other coaches, Coach Bridges and Coach Johns, we left Liberty Hill late last year after, 25 years of dominance. And I don't know what's going on there now. I don't know if they're going to get away from it. Whatever happens, but, it's for us around here. It is the Liberty Hill way. And we say that not in Blanco so much as to us, it's that mentality. It's the way the Slot-T is run. We feel it's unique even within the Slot-T. I know I looked up to Liberty Hill before I got there. I looked up to it for years as a head coach and everything. It was the standard. The way they ran it, Jeff Walker, best ever. But we're trying to implement that here at Blanco, and we're doing everything the same. It doesn't change. We do what we do 100%. But I loved having you guys down. That was awesome because I can get going. I love the details. I love coaching and teaching fundamentals. And we were having a lot of good back and forth there. I really enjoyed your guys' time down there, man. Built great friendships through it. You guys ran the wing T previously. Just share with us how that transformation is. A lot of wing T guys out there. Not as many as there was 20 years ago or anything, but certainly not a lot of Slot-T. It's been a Texas offense forever, and it's really just actually expanding with social media and and NFHS and YouTube and stuff, and many more people are now becoming aware of it. We get 100 to 150 inquiries every offseason at Liberty Hill. But share with us your transition from wing T to Slot-T.
Kind of background. I mean, I've grown up wing T, Delaware wing T. My father was a head football coach for a while in Virginia, ran the Delaware wing T really well. Coach Kepa played for him at Lafayette way back in the day. So I've got deep roots into the Delaware wing T. Coming to back to Lafayette there with Coach Lynn, last year we made the state semis, lost in the state semis there, and coming back, we've been a real jet sweep belly-based team, and it came to the point where, speed kills, but strength conquers there, and we realized we got to go right after people if we want, when we were moving up a level, we knew we needed something, and we were looking there, and I've researched the Slot-T, brought it to Coach Lynn there, Coach Kepa there. We started talking about it. And what we liked about it was it was a system-based offense there. Obviously, the tempo, you can't beat that. And doing that, and I'm sure we'll talk about that here. But not just the tempo, but just the detailed rules, the system in it, just the way it's practiced. That all fit everything we were trying to look for moving forward. we needed to be direct and get after people if we were going to be successful. This year in our region championship game, we beat the 4-time defending state champion Phoebus there. They're going for their 5th there. We walked out of there 23-17 with it. And it wasn't, they had, by far had the better athletes in that game. But, this system gave us an attacking point where we could go right at people, more direct than what we've done in the past with the wing tee, I think. And that was the big thing starting forward. We wanted to be faster and more direct at people, if that makes sense.
And what we also liked was the split side attack. In the wing tee, you always try to manipulate or find ways to get back to the weak side of a formation, where the slot T, with everything being so direct, it was a system base with a full, like you think of like what's that fork, that 3-pronged fork where it's middle, right, and left. And you're in one formation, and pre-snap with one formation, you can go from sideline to sideline without any motion. You can hit direct in the middle, in the B, in the C, in the D, in the flank. And that's what really got my attention when Coach Wheeler brought it to the table, is seeing how direct it was, seeing how simple it was, and how fast it was. I always told him I felt like the wing tee was like a slow dance. And then with this slot tee, it was polka, like just attack, get after it, just chaos. And for kids that you have that are not as skilled or not as big or not as strong as others, you need chaos for you to have success. And if you can apply the fundamentals within the chaos with what you're doing and how you're blocking, how you're attacking, we feel like that is the best chance for us to win games that we're not supposed to win.
Man, yep. There's obviously the similarities. You talked about it being a system. It's a whole order of football. I think wing tee guys feel the exact same way. Very much if-then oriented. And man blocking schemes, rule blocking, man block. There are other similarities, but one, when I've done clinic talks on the similarities and differences, and one of the differences I think kind of how quick things hit. They hit faster. They hit quicker than the wing tee. Fullbacks up tighter, backs are more condensed, and you mentioned the balanced formations. You can run buck to each side and, trap all over the place. And, but, really, you saw the emphasis we put on it. Every play is designed. How fast can we get that ball from the time it's moving back from the center? How fast can we get back on the other side of the line of scrimmage in the backfield with the fastest action? How can we get it on their side? And everything, our mentality is always designed to go quicker. I've seen, and none of this is dog and wing tee, don't get me wrong, because, man, a well-oiled wing tee machine is awesome to watch. It is.
Absolutely, yeah.
But, a lot of times on buck, their guards are bubbling and run a little wider. On trap, sometimes that fullback's back at 5.5 yards, and they hit it. I'm like, how do we can't hold blocks that long. That kid's back at 5.5. But yeah, our fullback's heels are always at 4. When we run buck sweep, we're hugging butts. Nobody's bubbling, getting any depth. We're trying to run that sucker right 8 holes up the A-hole type of thing. It's stovepipe and tight and going at all times.
Yeah, no, that was another thing with this. Like, we're a big jet sweep team, but what teams could do is they could time up their blitzes to our motions and all that with wing tee. And wing tee's got choreographed the dance, I call it, in the wing tee, the motions and the counters. But like you said, it's not hitting 100 miles an hour. So you get those teams that are flying at you, sending the house. Like, you're not holding those blocks very long, and there's chaos on the back end on ours. And this, I don't think, looking back, we did not have a ton of teams that could blitz us because of what we did. And that was something different than years past with the wing tees. We'd have to be able to handle blitzes, running belly with the fullback, taking a slide step and cross blocking and all this stuff, So it's a huge advantage on that end that we've saw this year, definitely.
How did your kids feel about and adjust to the change? Was the buy-in pretty good, pretty quick? You weren't going from the spread to the slot tee or, something way out. You were going wing tee, but were there some raised eyebrows or did they dive in? I know a lot of times that has to do with the passion the coaches are coming at them with and how much they're bought in. But how was that for your kids, the adjustment?
Yeah, I think our kids bought in, right away to it because, we have the mentality there at Lafayette. It's been there is that we're going to play physical football. And to be honest with you, I think we brought in something and said, hey, we're going to get more physical. So I think our kids, we didn't have an issue with them buying in. They dove right in to it. They'll get after you. We got some tough kids, not big kids, but we got some tough kids, with that. So, there was an excitement with it, to be honest with you. And, and it fit the style for some of our running backs coming in. Like I said, Lafayette, we've always been a jet sweep team. So those two wings are like, now we don't necessarily have balanced skill athletes that are running, but we're going to come straight at you. And it allowed us to get more depth, and then I'm sure we can talk about the way we practice and all that. But that's another thing it allowed us to do. It allowed us to get more kids involved and fit in the puzzle pieces of this offense, to be honest with you, than what we've been doing in the wing T.
Yeah. So safe to say the Slot T is going to continue on in Lafayette, America? Lafayette.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are. I love this thing. I know Coach Kepa, we love it. We saw the benefits of it, and we're not even close to where we need to be. Obviously, anything you put in first year, you're going to have your experiences, and you learn through experiences. Even coaches going back, there's things I would have done differently this year. I've noted down practice wise and all that. But yeah, we're still honing in on the details. We're definitely going to have questions for you coming down the road here. So
yeah, it's pretty awesome though. That I was joking with that question. I knew you guys were all in, but I know you had that game against a powerhouse midseason where you lost like 10-7 or only had one score, but you fumbled 7 or 8 times or something like that. You take away, we all have those games. You can't just eliminate them. But man, I was thinking you guys are close to 50 points a game. If you just put up one of your average games in that thing, or close to it.
Yeah. So kind of give you a little background. I mean, Pocosin is the other wing T team in our district. I've been running it for decades. And they played in the state semis at the 2A level, and it's always a battle with them. But earlier that week, and this is how our depth, so the first game of the year, we lost our fullback, high ankle sprain. We had a really good halfback, and we had some young kids coming along, and then we played our county rival, War Hill, and the first play of the game, we take it 60 yards, and our tailback dislocates his shoulder. He's out, we're playing with another backup fullback. He goes out. Our halfback goes out. At one point, we out there, our entire backfield was third string, and then our starting quarterback didn't start that game. Ended up beating them, but what came down to it is we had so much depth because we practiced it, not because we had depth because we had quality kids. That led into Pocosin, and then we were so close to Pocosin. We had sophomores playing at positions. We had a freshman guard come in. We were growing as a team, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
We were finding our stride, and unfortunately our stride was taking a run for 20 yards and fumbling it. It should have been a normal game, but it wasn't for some reason. It was a good learning experience for our kids with that, and Coach Kepa did a hell of a job defensively that game to give us a chance. But I think we got to where we were because of that game, if that makes sense.
100%. You have those games that even though at the time it feels like the world's ending, you just feel awful.
Yeah.
You don't play well. You're not questioning everything, but for me, it's always when those happen, it's more, especially new, is worried about the kids. You know what I mean? Are they looking around? The first play we ran at Blanco, America, in the Slot T this year in our first scrimmage, we had 44 blasts, 70 yards for a touchdown. That's pretty good buy-in you're going to get right away. Kids are running around fired up, man. This is easy. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
And then we got through a couple scrimmages and up and down, you're learning, you're missing some block and roll, you're missing some blocks, you're big plays, plays blown up, a lot of all over. And then we go in the first game. We played a good team that Blanco lost to the year before before we got there. And we lose 20-13. Defense plays real well. And we only put 13 on the board, and they were all over us. Our kids were big. Anyways, you start to, especially when you're brand new, and that game for y'all was, I know, mid-season. But the second game, we played a similarly big team, strong, physical. In fact, I thought, oh my gosh, listen, we're in for it here. This is going to be a battle royal because these guys are. I rated them about the same in my mind, evaluating them, and we beat them 63-7. And now we're going. What I mean? Now it just took that little deal to get going in that belief.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it was one of those games you'd like to play over because it would be different, but it allowed us to get the right pieces in the right place to make our run the way we did.
Yeah, absolutely. So what series this year, 200, 300, 400, 600, what was your go-to or the series you had the most success with? Was there one that stood out or were they all pretty balanced?
I'd say we were pretty balanced. Our 300 series was probably our top series there running it. The 200s or 234 ISO was probably one of our top plays. We ended up we moved our halfback to fullback after that game, and he's a really good player. Because we lost the original fullback there, and one thing we kind of discovered going down, we have a quarterback that can run, a big quarterback. He's like another fullback for us there. But yeah, I think the 300s were big for us there. 3-3 tailback around. We were taking pride on our trap. As you can tell, we didn't want anybody to take trap away with that. Yeah, so our 200s with that, our jet sweep 649 was. I loved how y'all did it, and after doing that, I mean, we were a big jet sweep team. There's several times probably should have ran it more. It just went for 80 yards untouched because, I mean, it's a very unique way of blocking, and you don't run it a ton, but when it comes out of there screaming with that. But yeah, I think those are our big ones: 300s, 200s. Obviously, 44 blast. Love that one. Our quarterback kept it off of that a good bit because people had to crash down.
Yep. And he was a hammer, so yeah, that's a good 44 keep. Yep.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I mean but it was just a whole system. Now I'll tell you what we didn't do, and probably should start because we started small with our kids. We're not the brightest in the world. We didn't flip formations this year, so we were all.
We did, but we were about 90% right set. So.
Yeah, so we had a few things that we would bring, over, but that's one thing I'm looking forward to because Virginia football, it's not balanced across the board. I think that thing just simply being able to flip formations, not add more plays, is going to help us moving forward at the speed there with that. But yeah, going back, I mean, there's things that I wish I would have ran more. I'll be honest with you, with like 228 pitch, we ran that a couple times, and I look back and watch film. It's wide open on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the beauty about this offense. You don't need more offense once you get into the system. It's all there.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm going to grow as a coordinator, is self-evaluating all that to fully use the system, if that makes sense.
100%. I think there's a lot of guys that make the mistake of thinking, something that's tried and true and been so good for so long, and they're going to add to it.
Yeah.
It's comprehensive. It's all in there. You got plenty to whoop up on folks. I don't mean that tough talking, but what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got plenty to give defensive coordinators all they can handle if you're running it well. And your kids are executing, you're calling a good game. So no doubt. How were you? Were you all pleased with your backs with the fakes in the first year? I feel like we got a long way to go. Some ways I was very pleased too.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
No, we're seeking perfection. No, I mean, practice. And once again, we had older kids in the backfield. So, we're fighting some habits that have been there 3 years.
Right.
With that.
To be honest with you, when we went down to watch JV a few times, be it a practice or a scrimmage or a game, we'd be watching some of our freshman and sophomore kids carry out fakes. We're like, dang, they're doing it better than our varsity kids. And like Coach Wheeler said, we were seniors, so they're great kids and they did great things, but they're old dogs. So when you're training brand new, clean slate, and this is the football that they're coming up to learn, and that's kind of all they know now, you're kind of seeing those little things down there develop to where I think once you keep compounding the years of the slot T and keep hammering home the detail, it will improve in the future.
No doubt. They're much easier to brainwash when they're young. There's no, well, on any given thing, not just carrying out fakes.
Yeah.
And those kids coming up through, like you said, now it's just that they won't know any different.
No, you see them run the midline and not even blink. You're like, holy hell, that 3-3-3 just shot out the gate. I thought he had the football, but it was 349.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. And it's a lot of fun when you can point that out Saturday morning to your kids on film. Look at those three dudes over there chasing it. Look, sometimes kids don't look at that stuff. They're watching themselves on the block, and you point out 3-4 guys are either chasing or totally handcuffed, looking at the wrong guy with the ball.
We had a couple instances of those in the game, and it was just nice to watch on film. I'm telling you, there's nothing better than when it comes together and they have no clue who has the football.
Yeah, that's time to brag all over them in film, and really point it out to everybody. Look at this, it's going to make us look so much faster when that defense is handcuffed and looking the wrong way for, a little bit of running 3 steps the wrong way. It's invaluable for sure.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you find some games defenses could take away a play? They took away the trap all night, or, and did you feel you had an answer, such an if-then offense? And was that answer in attacking other holes, or could you make adjustments and let's say it was a trap? They took away the trap somehow, by alignment, by overstacking type of thing. Did you feel you had it in your kids to adjust and could get it done, or did you just go away from it?
Well, I feel like this is a good segue for Coach Wheeler to kind of describe our second half, fourth quarter of the season with who we had in the backfield and obstacles we had to overcome with who we personnel were playing with, and one shoulder tailback. So, Coach Wheeler, you can kind of explain that in depth a little bit.
Yeah. So going back to you, Coach Kilby, the answer, yes. We could adjust or we get another hole, and I'll talk about that. But what Coach Kep said, this year was kind of unique. Our tailback was very good. Dislocated his shoulder twice, dislocated his kneecap out there, but he could run. We lost our fullback, had to move our fullback to our halfback to fullback, and then we took a D lineman, decent athlete, but a big boy, and put him at halfback, and for the second half said, "Here we go," type deal. And he did a great job, and we just started getting on tracks, and we just started running. And unfortunately, tailback, great kid, senior kid out there, limited physicality blocking wise, but we did things with that. So before we get into that, this offense we could have never done this in the wing tee. We wouldn't not got where we got this season in the wing tee because the slot tee allowed us to plug in different types of people back there, if that makes sense, in the backfield and adjust with it. But coming down, taking things away, absolutely. We played early in the year. They were trying to take away trap. We simply on 3-3 tailback around. We influenced the guard out and trap because they had two techniques pinching in there and split that thing because the backers went flying. They were trying to take it away there. But what I loved is, for example, 234 ISO is probably one of our top plays with it there. And, you took away strong side trap and we'd run it out of the A formation, Tom motion with that. If you took that away, here comes 234 ISO right down the B gap. You know, it was a nice combo, if you know what I'm saying. You know, when it hit direct with that, we got to do some false key. I was excited because we got one that read the guards there on that, you know, false key with 8-hole reverse. That was nice seeing coming out of there, you know, with that one. But there's answers in everything. And I have a good buddy that's coached with me a while, and he only comes on Fridays, and he knows his details. And his whole job is to be behind me with the iPad, and he's giving me information, and we're making adjustments with that. So we have a coaching system on the sideline to see the interior and make adjustments like that to know what we need to do on that part. But yeah, you know, the beauty of it, the slot T, yes, you can make adjustments to that play, or they give you the next hole over. They can't defend everything. And I call it working the problem. That's what I love about slot T. He's like, all right, Friday night, guys, we're working the problem. Coach Rib's behind me. Let's work this problem. You know, we got the answers. We just got to go through the problem to work it, you know. With that, the big one that came out in our region championship game, you know, we got 449 toss. They crashing hard, pinned everything, and we're running down the sidelines. Quarterback's out there leading. We're all running, you know, man blocking. So, like, the slot T gave you answers a lot more than the wing T. Wing T was if, then, and that, and there's a lot of moving parts. But one thing I can say about slot T I liked also, there, Coach Kilby, is there's times where we don't have, like those toss, we don't have to pull anybody. We're firing off the ball, like, and just coming at you. You know, and that was my big thing going from the wing T to this. A lot of the wing T, you're pulling, wrapping around, you're choreographing parts. You know, now we're in 4-point stances, and Katie bar the door, here we come.
Running out of those stances.
Yeah, that's to go back and answer your question. Yeah, we adjusted to a hole over, or we had answers to adjust that play to make it work, if you know what I'm saying there. So
yeah, I do, and I think it'll just grow and grow for y'all, because I know, you know, Liberty Hill, those kids are little slot T machines. You know, and they're only playing one side of the ball, and they come over, and we'd be adjusting throughout the game many, many times. You know, just little angles, little things, and we Blanco is a decided difference. You know, there was we except for one kid, 2 platooned, kind of ran a few games with injuries where, you know, a couple kids had to play 1.5 ways, but overall we 2 platooned in the school of 340 kids, and we got to our 3rd round playoff game. At the time, we're playing the number 1 team in the state, and it was interesting because 3rd round and 1st round they played a team that ran the slot T. At least 50% of the time, one of those, you know, shotgun, but they get an A set, they, you know, run some semblance of it. So, man, we got a good look at what they're running on defense. 2nd round, same thing, 50-50 slot T team with some spread stuff, you know, shotgun, but A set, O set. Wow, exact same thing. You know, I'm older than dirt, been around since Moby Dick was a minnow. I can still call it the old split, you know, 4-2-5 if you're fancy, and spreadified and all that kind of stuff. To me, it's an old school split. But in the split, they played their linebackers a little wide, like they'd have a 3 and a 2 or a 2-eye, and their linebackers were both outside, the 3 and the 2-eye. And I just thought, I can't. This is gonna be awesome, because we were sophomore center, 2 sophomore guards, 150 and 165 pounds, and these dudes were huge. I thought, we're gonna be able to run. We're gonna put in 332 folds, and we're gonna pull our strong guard. We're going to false key with them because they're reading guards that 3 technique against the previous 2 slot T teams, you know. Block back with our center and the 2-eye, and we're going to fold our guard right up the middle and just hit that bad boy running. And anyways, with the fakes, we thought we'd keep the guards there. They come out the first play. They added a lineman. They got 270, 280 across the board, and they're in a TNT, and everybody's pinching and crashing. We couldn't trap the whole night. I mean, it was just tough sledding in there. They were reading our guards. If they went to double down the nose, they were crashing with them. And our kids kind of lost their mind. They'd forget nose over rules and influencing out. We got young kids in there against these seasoned kids. So I'm bringing that up to say we will grow. We will grow and we'll get more seasoned. And we hit that third round game. We thought we had a great chance. They were number one in the state at the time, ranked number one, and it showed our inexperience came to the forefront that day, and she was all over. But great first season, 10-3 and all that. And we knew to beat them, we had to be on everywhere, every single way. And it was 7-3 going into the fourth quarter, and we had the ball deep in their end, and it just, when we didn't punch it in, they started hitting a couple big plays that got away from us. But anyways, it was a great first season, but I know we will get better, and y'all will too at that. Your kids being able to adjust, pick things up, and not be frazzled. Was there a particular front that posed a problem for you more than others? Because I've always noticed over the years there's a people's defense. It seems like everybody's running a 3-3 stack one year, and that's.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that. Like, you practice, and we talk about the practice routine. Try to practice against as many fronts as you think you're going to see, so the kids are ready.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think we ever got the same thing. It was completely different all the time there. And Coach Kepa can speak to this too, but I think the one that always gave us problems, was that odd front kind of TNT look a little bit, that could be able to play the trap, but also be able to anchor in that B gap if they had to there, with that. I was really intrigued that once again, Coach Kepa, you can back me up on this. We did not see any, and we've been blitzed a lot in the past, did not see any blitzing with that. But our odd front be the issue. We had a small center, great kid, senior, but I mean, he undersized, but I'm telling you, I'd take him any day of the week. So sometimes it comes down to ability, and we got to give him help there with that, part there. But I think we saw a fairly good bit of odd front.
Yeah, it's that odd reduced front, and when that third level reacts to run, but also is very disciplined with their eyes to read their pass key to be able to defend the pass to where you can't get by that safety that you think you could get by with run support. That's what made Phoebus very good, and we got them in the infancy stage of our schedule. I wish we had a redo for it, but it's those very disciplined odd fronts. Yeah, it's those very disciplined odd fronts with the third level support that we find difficult because it forces you to play correct football within the fundamentals, your scheme, and getting off the football and playing at that pace. And it doesn't let you play half-ass football. You can't get away with much when all three levels of the odd defense are in play.
Yep. Amen. Okay, I got one for you. Were you all pleased? And I know you're going to say, no, we weren't pleased, but rate it relative to first time hustling. Were you all pleased with your team's speed of the ball from breaking the huddle?
First half of the season, no. Second half of the season, yes. It was something that we had to establish and harp on and even catch ourselves on as coaches to keep the pace of practice at a certain level, because there was one time when we were down visiting you where you got to coach on the fly, and sometimes the next rep is going to happen and you're just going to miss that coaching point to that kid, and you just got to keep moving on because the pace of the play and the pace from the huddle to the snap is what is the most important. And I think we did a better job of kind of corralling the theme of that to where early on practice was chaotic. Like we were running back this, that, and third, and we're like, hold on. It's from the huddle to the snap of the football. Now take a breath, swingman, runner of the play, get in the huddle, say it. But once this thing is communicated, it's run fast pace. So like we were, I think, our brain waves were going a million miles per hour with everything at the start. Coach really did a great job of laminating sheets, and we were all dumbasses out there screwing it up every day at the early start. But those little things you don't realize until you get through your brain waves and they start trickling down a little bit. Like, oh, we're not doing this right. Let's clean this up. So first quarter of the season, that's where it got to. And then second, third, fourth quarter of the season, I thought we were doing pretty good.
That's what and the coaches that dive into this and the tempo and starting it, and wise coach once told me the slower you take it at the beginning, the better off you'll be in the end. And the mentality of go, 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 but like teaching them the pace. Like Coach Kep said, I think our kids, they thought no huddle, let's roll, roll, roll. No, take a deep breath from the huddle. Once we break that huddle, the system, it's 100 miles an hour. Regroup. We're going to take our time. So, we should never have a delay of game penalty, guys. We're all, don't worry. Take your time in the huddle. Take your breath. It's huddle to the ball with that. So there was a teaching moment for our kids and a habit-forming practice moment for our kids to ingrain it. So there are times that we're pleased with it, and there are times that frustrated, you want to go faster and faster. And, I think the big game starting out, we hit Pocosin, it kind of slowed down because we had young kids in there at the moment, those wires in their brains are getting crossed, trying to figure things out, and all that stuff. So, it gets better as time goes on, if that makes sense. I think
I agree. And I think I know I came in this year and I didn't have the learning curve. Y'all were, staff members. You guys were learning, and I've been doing this for so long. We just institute like there's only one way. We're sprinting to the ball, and you don't do that all practice. We don't do it in trap and sweep.
Yeah,
we get to, then we practice it in power and pass, like establish that. But yet I still look at it and say we got to go faster. I look at film, and sometimes it was the quarterback. He was lagging by making sure everybody's on side, and he had a lot of experience. But I think y'all going into year 2 with everybody being that much more comfortable, that could be a huge point of emphasis. Like it's just, this is non-negotiable. Yeah. We clap those hands, we break that huddle. It's a 7-yard dead sprint to the ball. And I know I want to get to that level where we're just, if it's on quick, it's look like we're tapping our hands and we're going. We want an offside penalty every game. I know that sounds utterly ridiculous, but if we don't get one of them, we're not pushing the envelope.
Yeah, I tried to push the same thing to them. I don't think we ever got an offsides penalty, so we're not there yet.
Yeah. Other than the kid just jumping and falling, we had a few of those, but I mean just from
just non-set penalties. Yeah.
And did you find this year? I know it did with us to a T, and I could have anticipated, but it really does eliminate the defensive coordinator from doing a lot in the game. We didn't see a lot of stunting at all. When we did, it really looked like the kid was almost going on his own, maybe got a little free rein, but when we were going at our pace, we didn't see a lot of stemming. We saw some, but not mass scale of it, game in, game out.
Yeah, no, we didn't see a ton of that. We saw, I guess, lining up in an over or an under or mixing up their lineup. Not based on what we were doing, they'd already be out there. So, but that's nothing our kids couldn't adjust to. But we never saw any stunting. We saw they would adjust to the jet formation, which having answers of blast underneath and all that stuff, that came back to that. But yeah, it was not, we saw a ton of stunting the years before in the wing tee. And I'll be honest with you, being a defense coordinator in the past, the wing tee, I love to stunt the wing tee too. Create chaos. Thinking of the defensive side, trying to defend this, I couldn't tell you where to stunt. If we had to go down and defend Liberty Hill or Blanco, we're going to get fundamental as we can be and hang on for dear life. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can stunt somewhere to try to take away something, but you got to
it becomes a guessing game because you can't time up motion. You can't, the formation. The formations. There's no tails in it.
With the wing tee, there's motion checks and blitzes that you can attack and tendencies. With the slot tee, you're, like Coach Wheeler said, guessing of where you can hit and where you can go. I think what you saw from what I've seen when I was watching the offense go on the sideline when they're rolling, is the manipulation of the flank to the tight side and the split side that defenses did per week. because when offense is going, I would be coaching the offensive line, but also be communicating to the scout D of how they lined up. And we never had cards or anything for the scout defense. We'd line up, create a communication call, and I'll go over, under, or 50, odd, stat, or just something that we always communicate so I can move the front back and forth, play to play, or clip to clip. But it was always the manipulation of how they played the tight side, how they played the split side off tackle, and ways that we had to manipulate to attack that and find different answers throughout the course of the game and throughout the course of the year. And what also got us is personnel. Like, all right, well, they're giving us this, but we're a weak link here. Let's hang on and try our best at it. But so it forces us. But that's the cool thing about what we saw with the slot T is we were not good in certain areas, be it an injury or be it experience or be it talent. And there were plays that they potentially could give us, but hey, this quick tackle can't do this type of block. Well, let's manipulate it, do it this way, bring the swing man in a little tighter and get a double team with him, or seal here with this tailback, or get a gosh dog triple team wall going up there so you seal everything. So there's ways within the slot T with it being so direct that no matter how the defense lines up on flanks, if you get fundamental and if you tweak a blocking scheme here or there, you find success even with the lack of talent you have at certain positions.
Yeah, well said, Coach. Well said. And I was, my thought on the bringing it is you can certainly do that. You can blitz a guy through A, try to take away trap or something, but if it's not that, you're in big trouble. You're guessing it's going to be a certain play because then he is needed on 3-2-8 or 8 hole, or if he's a play side linebacker, and the big mentality you want to build in your kids is if you get hit right in the mouth, that fullback's just barely getting the ball, they bring somebody, bam, you can't get off the ball, you miss them, and they hit you right at the line of scrimmage. And just pop up, get back in that huddle, because every time they take that risk, a big play's coming. They have to continue to, roll that dice, and if they roll it the wrong way, it's going to be a huge play, and that's the if-then of this whole deal.
Absolutely, and I think I will say this, going from the wing T to slot T, and Coach Kep, you can piggyback on this if you want here. Wing T, we had probably several plays that were negative yards every game. They'd get us. I don't think we had one play that went for like a negative rushing yard because we were falling across the line of scrimmage every play. I think we had some issues when we ran a waggle or something. We didn't get it blocked right with that. But as far as our run game, we weren't taking a belly and getting hit back 3 yards because we got a stunt. Like everything was falling across the line of scrimmage at the worst case scenario for us. Which I love that. I mean, yeah. Our mentality, can we get 3 yards a pop, 4th and 1, we'll be good. We're fighting for 3 yards. So
it is probably the ultimate don't beat yourself offense. It really is. Other than take away a fumbled snap or, you know what I mean? The fumbles.
I'm glad you said that, because going into our regional championship game playing Phoebus, me and Coach Wheeler and our head coach and staff, we all talked like we can play complementary football. Our offense will be good enough with the scheme and what we got in play to where if we hold on to the football, we don't got to be successful. We can punt and make Phoebus go 70, 80 yards. That's better off than Phoebus getting a short field and going, because they'll capitalize off of that. So we didn't turn the ball over during Phoebus. There was drives that we got and hit a few long ones, like Coach Wheeler said, on that 449, and there's a couple big hitting pass plays that helped us as well. But then we played hang on defense, and sounds funny, but we gave up 350 yards of passing. It is what it is, but they scored 17 points. But we were able to do that because they had so much field to cover. And we were able to, we'll give up a play, whatever. We're surviving third down. All right, piss on it. They keep getting it. Oh, we got to stop. They punted it. Now we got the ball. Chunk. Now we punt. So this offense allowed us to have a direct hitting attack versus a very solid, skilled, bigger, stronger team to keep us in the game. If we didn't have this and we were out there with the wing tee trying to run horizontal sideways, or a crossover step, belly, or a slow trap, it would have been a lopsided victory for Phoebus. And that's what we got into preseason before we met you, or when Coach Wheeler randomly on a night hit up one of your sessions on a side gig and came in the next morning and said, "Hey, Slot-T." I was like, "What the hell is that?" And he showed me a couple Liberty Hill clips, and I'm like, "Holy hell, this is quick hitting. This is awesome." And we all made the decision, like, is this going to beat Phoebus? Is this going to get us to an opportunity to play in a state championship in Division IV? And we all said yes and took it from there. And man, what did the first year here?
Yes, I think that was our biggest thing when we looked at this offense. Phoebus was the top dog in 4A. They'd won 4 state championships in a row. Just a really good program, really talented program. But that's what led us to it. What gives us a chance to beat a team that's going to be more athletic than us, bigger than us across the board. And to a point, we can talk about more, coaches that are looking into this here, Coach Kilby and all that, a lot of people say, well, if you get behind, this isn't the offense for you. Well, guess what? We were behind in Phoebus, came back and won. We went down 19-0 in the state semi game, and it's another game you wish it came back. And came back and was winning in the fourth quarter, got it, into 2. We had a chance for a long field goal to win it. And that's another game. We started off the game terrible with 3 turnovers, fumbles. It's just one of those. But coaches looking at it, and then, people are going to look at it and say, well, this is offense. Once you're behind, you're behind. And we've experienced it, and it was the best thing for us to even come back in a game, if you know what I'm saying, and lived it. So we're really glad we went to it. It gave us this opportunity this year to win. And people are still talking about the Phoebus game, how that was one of the best high school football games they've watched in a while. I mean, it was, we kicked a field goal to tie it up going into the fourth quarter, just a physical game, good football players, both sides. But yeah, that was a point I wanted to make to coaches. Like, don't look at this offense and say, well, it's one of those, well, we get behind, you're done. No, there's a lot to it it's going to keep you in a lot of games and win you a lot of games. So.
And I think for us personally, I know Coach Kilby, you say you haven't had the ability in the past. We have skill players. We'll luckily have a few skill players that we could throw a football to. And so flanking them out wide, and you have the entire box that has to defend the slot T, and you take your swingman out wide and you get one-on-one coverage, a simple hitch, a simple quick, a simple fade one-on-one, go and win. And that allowed us to have certain success too. And with all the play action passes that came off of it, and shoot, we're nastied up tight in a formation there in Phoebus. And a lot of our big hitting plays came from play action deep passes that set us up for success in that regional championship. So the threat of the slot T, everybody's thinking, well, can you pass out of it? I think you can pass more efficiently and better out of it compared to all the other system-based offenses out there.
That was our biggest hesitation. And if you don't mind, Coach Kepa, I'll piggyback off that for future coaches here, because we do have some decent skill. We don't have a ton, but, they've always had a wide receiver here at Lafayette and all that. And we don't do complicated stuff. But what I loved about this offense was you rotated in with the swing man with plays. And one thing I wanted to look is get more kids involved. Well, our swing man, we had a good receiver, and then we had this kid who's a junior who kind of came into his own body here. He's 6'6", 250. They said, come on, you're going to get in the way here. We're going to start by teaching you how to get in the way, And he rotated his swing man, and he blossomed. He wasn't ready to go in there and crank it at tight end yet, but we rotated in. So we got more depth rotating in. But when you got those skill kids, now we get in there nasty, and they have to block down and double on a 5 technique and go steal a linebacker. We don't shy away from that now. So don't think like we're taking, some small skill kids and they're just going to be receivers. We still get after people. One thing, this is the only thing I think that we've done outside the realm of the slot T is really simple, is that we will have times where we flex them out, rotate them over, and we get really simple. We go old school. It's 3-step hitch, 1-step quick, 3-step fade. And the reason we have that, there's one thing on the wing T. If you run the slot T the right way, that guy's going to be one-on-one. And if you got a guy that we don't try to do any of this fancy stuff or anything, when we're fortunate enough to have a quarterback that can hit his third step and throw it really good. But that's the only thing that we've branched out from what we learned from you guys right there. And I think as simple as football as you can get.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys big time. Now, Slot-T.com's rolling out anytime. In fact, by the time this thing airs, it might be out. And I know you guys have expressed that you're all in. the first day it's out, I know you guys are going to be part of the community. But, it's going to have, we've talked and had this conversation. It's going to have so much. It's going to be fully comprehensive for somebody to be able to learn and implement and run the slot T. The resources are all going to be there. It's going to be very comprehensive. There's going to be video playbooks. There's going to be teaching series tapes, chalk through on the boards where I'm going through the blocking on each play, the backfield action on each play. Then we go to cut-ups from there, from Liberty Hill, from Blanco, pointing out against different fronts, rating kids' efforts on plays and kids' angles and fakes and things, and showing good, showing bad, showing what makes plays go, showing what hurts plays, voiceover commentary, telestration, all stuff. It's going to be great. Keith Grabowski, who I'm working with, has put together a $2,500 package of seven different things that are great for installing your program. You don't have to run the slot T for these to be great tech advantages and stuff, and that's all free and included. It's never been done before, according to him, to be included like that with the membership to the Slot-T.com. So I envision, and we're gonna meet coaches' needs, but I envision, a weekly subject podcast, Trap Tuesday, or something where you just really look at something in depth. We'll either have weekly or bi-weekly Q&A podcasts where coaches from around the country can just, we'll be on an interactive forum where they can ask any question out there. Got a lot in place, little wiggle room to continue to improve it as we go. And, I look forward to you guys being members, and please, if there's anything, that you think can better the community, better the website, I would appreciate, I love your guys' input, man. We speak the same language, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. Like I said, it needs to keep going. Football needs this.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying. Yeah, it's getting softer and softer. And I'm not, I joke around stuff, but you can be extremely physical running the spread. You can be physical running anything, but this stuff really lends itself to physical football, flat backs, 4-point stances, screaming off the ball, getting on your paths and going. I mean, it's got a flair to it that, there's nothing better than hearing people say, come talk to you after the game, and the average fan say, Coach, I have no idea where the ball is the whole game. I'm lost the whole game. It's so cool. I'm sure one kid's got the ball, and then another kid 25 yards down the field on the other side of the field has the ball. And when you get those kind of comments, you're doing your job right. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we got the comment of it's unfair. You're in 4-point stances hitting us under the chin.
We also got the comment of you guys aren't even playing football.
Yeah.
or like, oh, okay.
Those are from the opponents that we beat in their fan crowd. So
how do you respond to that? Huh?
Well, we respond 50 to whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll look at the scoreboard. Yeah, it's good stuff. Guys, I appreciate it so much, man. This is a lot of fun. And I know we keep in touch going forward. I can't, wait to continue to watch your guys' progress. I know there's huge things coming, Lafayette, America. I know you guys are going to take that next step and win it all soon, man. It's coming.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. And we're going to have questions for you, but anything we can help with down the road with this kicking Slot-T off for you, let us know.
Yes, sir, brother. Thank you so much. And we'll sign off for the evening and really appreciate you guys. Go Rams. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
If this conversation sparks something for you, if you're curious about how the Slot-T actually works, how it's taught, or how it can fit your program, that's exactly what Slot-T.com is built for. At Slot-T.com, Coach Paul Kilby goes far beyond interviews and theory. He teaches the details of the offense, formations, motions, series structure, adjustments, and the decision-making that ties it all together. Not just what to run, but why it works and how to teach it clearly. Just as important, Slot-T.com is a community. It's a place where coaches are sharing ideas, asking real questions, and evolving the offense together, learning from each other while staying rooted in the principles that have made the Slot-T successful for decades. If you're looking to build a clear offensive identity, teach with confidence, and be a part of a group that's moving the Slot-T forward the right way, head to Slot-T.com and join the Slot-T Mafia.